Welcome back to Biz Today. As you know, every week we have an expert in studio to talk to us about topics or ideas or any kind of industry that you are interested in for your business but may not necessarily understand it. They can range across from accounting, marketing, CRM systems, whatever it might be. But today we've got a very interesting topic that I think you're going to really enjoy listening about, and it's negotiation and sales tactics. You know how important it is to be able to close a deal? Well, I didn't when I first started my business, and sadly lost many deals in that way. So today we've got Marlene Powell. She's an action coach. An action coach is actually a franchise, a global franchise. She's based here in KZN, but has serviced 100 plus SMEs and businesses over the past 8 years. She's one of the foremost women I know in the industry who know about sales and negotiation tactics. So I'm quite pleased to have her in the studio today to tell you more about it. Marlene, welcome to Biz Today. It's lovely to have you in the studio.
Thank you very much, Nazareen.
Excellent. So I know you across the years now, and I know you to be a foremost expert in sales and negotiation as well as coaching for small businesses. And I was adamant to have you on the show because I'm so comfortable that you're going to leave viewers completely certain that they will be able to negotiate their way into a deal.
Oh my word, okay.
So let's start out our conversation. How do you define negotiation tactics? How would a business owner understand that?
You know, the big thing with business owners is the majority of the time needs to be spent around sales and marketing and then looking after your existing clients.
Yeah.
The problem is a lot of the business owners spend a lot of time in the business doing the technical side and the administration side because they want to avoid doing the sales and marketing. And I can speak for myself, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
But business can only be successful, or one of the big contributing factors for success in business is getting out there, getting known, letting people know that you're out there. Because business isn't going to just come to you. You've got to earn the right to be out there. You've got to be very clear who your target market is. So with sales and negotiation, it's just really understanding how we move from a suspect to a prospect to a shopper who's done business with you once to become a regular customer.
So suspect to prospect to shopper to a regular customer, and ultimately an advocate of your brand.
An advocate, and then eventually a raving fan, so you don't have to do any sales anymore.
Absolutely. Now that was the sales aspect you talked about, where you understand this is what I need to do in order to win the client over and then to keep delighting them all the time. When you're actually in the process of trying to win the client over, you're sitting down in that meeting with a proposal in front of them or a cost estimate, and you're trying to show them the value of why they should have your service or product in their business. That's a bit of negotiation going on there.
Correct.
How does that happen?
You know, before you even sit in front of your prospective client, the negotiation happens right from the first point of contact.
Okay.
So it's that drip-feed approach to say, let's understand what their need is, because people don't like change. There's a very high resistance to change. So in order to minimize that resistance, we've got to look at what is their dissatisfaction, what is their need? Do they have to change, need to change, or want to change? And when you start exploring that, you can start seeing, do they really need your service or product, or don't they? What is that dissatisfaction and the pain they're going through in order for them to even consider listening to you?
You find their touch points.
Yes. So you need to do those touch points. So often what sort of general mistakes that people make is they make one contact and say, oh, it's not working.
Yeah.
Instead of, you got to touch. Your sales achiever says the only way to achieve is to have those touch points. I mean, you touch them once, the chance of converting them to a client is about 2%.
Yeah.
But if you continue to touch them, and we don't sort of haunt them on, have you got my quote? When are you going to make a decision? It's just understanding how we can move them through the sales process to start really understanding they need the benefits that you can offer. It's like a doctor and a patient. When a patient comes to see you, the doctor doesn't give you a prescription there and then. He first understands what's wrong and then prescribes you with the right medicine.
That's right.
So if you're a doctor and your potential client is a patient, how is your product or service going to provide you with a solution?
I think that's an excellent way to understanding it, because a lot of times, and I love the way you said it, a lot of times businesses make the first contact, but don't understand. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into closing a sale. So what I want to understand more especially is, can you describe the parts of the negotiation process? because there's certain parts to it. You present the service, you present yourself, you win the trust. And then what happens after that? And how do you close the deal ultimately?
Right. So once you've got someone who's interested in your product or service, you don't go in for the kill, if I can put it that way.
Guns blazing almost.
Guns blazing, say, right, this is what we can do, because the very next thing is how much, or it's too expensive.
Exactly.
And the whole negotiation process, and this is just really from our perspective, everyone has a different way of thinking on negotiation, but we don't base, or I wouldn't base negotiation on price. Negotiation is more on the benefit of, let's negotiate to see, can my service offering or product provide you with the solution that you're looking for? Because if there's a need, so let's say you're walking in a desert and you're desperate for water and you've got a lot of money, you'll pay whatever you need to get that water. But if you've got an abundance of water around, how much are you going to offer for that water? You want it for free.
Exactly.
So there has to be that absolute need to have a product or service, and you will pay anything for it. So it's not then about price. If, for example, your product or service comes at a price, but it's more expensive than your competitors out there, is what is your differentiator? So when you're sitting in front of that prospective client who is interested in your product or service, but the question he keeps asking you, because if he's asking you the questions, he's obviously in control, he or she.
That's right.
So we're saying, okay, you're in control, so I'm now trying to justify why you should buy my product and service. But what we really want to look at is, why should you buy our product and service? And we need to understand from you why you should buy our product and service. So we need to ask you the questions to understand. So we've got to find out the pain, the need. Do I have to, need to, want to change? And what is it actually going to give me if I use your product or service that I'm not getting already? So now you've got to find the balance between the two to say, pain, what's it going to give me? I can't really see the need. And you will then provide more benefits by asking more questions and more questions. Then eventually when the prospective client is satisfied, he's got to then say, well, what can you offer me? And then you can step in and say, right, so the first step is, now you'll go through and say, we have option A or option B based on what you have spoken about or shared with me. Then that negotiation process starts, because now you have a much better understanding. You know, there's always the old sales process or old sales funnel where it's a lot about selling the product or service and very little sort of rapport building. But what you need to do is do a rapport build. Keep building rapport, understanding more, and then do the sale. And then do a very big, strong follow through and after sales service to just make sure that we've satisfied the need, so that, again, if they make the sale, have we actually fulfilled the expectation?
Yeah, that sounds like it's ultimately how you secure a win-win situation. That's what you want it to be, right?
Yes.
I suppose, you know, listening to that, and this is something I personally also have come up against many, many times. Would you say, Marlene, there's a difference between being persistent in a good way and then just being downright bullish in your approach and spamming the prospective client with the demand to buy your product or service? So you described it in a way before, where you said you build that trust first, but there is a difference, right?
Yes, definitely. You know, at the end of the day, we talk about having different touches. We use a 13-step sales process, and through that 13-step sales process,
and this is through Action Coach.
Through Action Coach, and this is what we teach our clients.
But
through there's 7 touches, and we know now with social media you need a lot more touches, because there's just so much out there that's coming through your mailbox. So really at the end of the day is that ultimately what are you trying to achieve? And I think the big thing is, just from experiences, a lot of people will put in a quote and then they don't get the client interested in buying from them, they'll go somewhere else.
How often after you send the quote and you haven't heard from the client should you contact them?
It starts before the quote. So all the work and the building of the relationship starts before you do the quote. Remember, I talked about the dissatisfaction and the ideal of what they want, and then the first steps. That first step is the quote. So already through the touches is the initial suspect to prospect. So when you've marketed to them or put an ad or however that's source you used to market your product or service, something excited them to show an interest. So now they've made contact with you. So they've given you permission to continue the sales process because they're now interested. So obviously it starts from when you originally make that first contact. What is that thing that's going to entice them to want to do business with you, or find that need that they're not currently getting from the existing supplier or whoever it is? Then through that process is then, okay, I am interested. Right, so let's ask more questions. Do you mind if I ask you a few more questions just to understand more about what it is you're looking for?
Yeah.
Through that process, you're building rapport, building rapport, building rapport. And only then when you say, okay, so let's have a look at the options. Option A, option B, option C. Okay. No discussion around price yet, because you want to find the need, the payoff. If I do this, how will I benefit? What's the consequence by not having it? You know, what will I get out of it? What is the benefit from having it? And you've got to weigh up that, like I talked about, the need for water versus don't have water. So how hungry are you for that service or satisfaction that you need? So then from there, then you say, okay, fine. So here's quote A, B, and C. These are the benefits. It's not about price. And then the follow-up after that is not, have you got my quote? Have you made a decision? Is there anything more I can ask you to help you understand further if there's more that you'd like to know? Or
that's absolutely great.
Like
so what you're doing ultimately is you're not pushing them so much into saying, you're not giving them the impression that you're only interested in the money and when you're able to invoice them after they've signed their cost estimate. But I like the way you phrase that. You say, is there anything else I can help you understand or be comfortable with? Because ultimately you want them to feel complete comfort in the fact that they know their service is going to do something for their business.
Correct. And I think really that authenticity needs to come through. You know, there's some people that are really desperate. Their business is bad. They're putting out quotes. They're not getting it for whatever reason. There's a blame or there's an excuse, or, you know, it's price or by competitors or whatever they want. And at the end of the day is that if we show them that we really care, you know, they always say that it's not how much you know until they know how much you care.
Okay, that's right.
And through that process, they really care. If they really see that you do care about them and that you really have a true understanding about what their needs are, and it's not about me, myself, I, and they understand what you're providing them, that's the negotiation and the sales process from what I believe. Because at the end of the day, I mean, same with our clients. I mean, we're not Mickey Mouse or anything. I mean, you pay a good sum of money to invest, but we're going to take your business to another level. If we had to give our price up front, there's no ways I would get my clients. But what's important is for them to understand what is the value by investing in me or in our systems. Same as anything you sell, is how do I know that what I'm investing, it mustn't be seen as an expense. When people do business with you, they need to say, if I'm investing, because it's money, if I'm investing money in your product or service, what is the payoff? Am I getting what it's worth to me? Because one person, 1,000 rand to one person for an item might be cheap to another person who say, there's no ways I'm paying 1,000 rand.
That's right.
So it depends on who your target market is as well. And that's a very big thing when I talk about suspect to prospect, is how clear are you before you even do a quote that they are your target market? They might not be. Are you going for market share or are you going for wallet share? Which one are you going for? Because your strategy is very different.
That's right.
And if you can get out there to get permission marketing to say, I'm giving you permission to show me your product or service, then you know you're in. Now it's, let's understand the client. And as soon as you've satisfied the need of the client, why would he not do business with you?
It was wonderful to have you on Biz Today, talk sales and negotiation tactics, which I'm sure is a conversation we can have in the future on the show again.
Definitely.
Excellent.
Thank you.
It was Marlene Powell. You're most welcome. It was Marlene Powell, action coach, business coach, based here in KZN, and has serviced over 100 plus SMEs over the past 8 years. She is certainly an expert in the field, talking about sales and negotiation tactics, and something that you need to continually work on in your business in order to show businesses that you care, number one, and also that you're able to scale your business. So you know that when you're sitting in a business meeting and you want to win that deal, it's ultimately going to be win-win for both you and the customer. And I remember an interesting story from Mark Zuckerberg, who founded Facebook. And he said that it wasn't just that in the early stages that they were better than other people or other people were better than them. It was just that they cared more. And I do remember Marlene's words saying it's about how much you care in that instance. So it was great advice. Please tune in next week when we have yet another successful entrepreneur in the studio, as well as another expert talking to us about a topic or any other industry that you may be interested in. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.